Welcome to a world of secrets, danger, and hidden truths. In today's episode, we'll be taking a closer look at some of the most mysterious and dangerous things that no one should know about. From deadly killers to catastrophic disasters and shocking conspiracies, these are the things that no one is supposed to see. Every typical haunted house story starts with something similar, a ghost or demon. But this isn't your typical haunted house story, but one where someone creepy watches the house and goes as far as sending daily letters for years.
In 2014, the Broaddus family bought their dream home, but as soon as they moved in, they started receiving anonymous letters signed only by the Watcher. Dearest new neighbor, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s and my father in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lie within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. These letters were scary and terrifying and seemed to know about the habits of the family and even what they were doing in the house, something no one outside the house would have known. Over the weeks, more letters will come in detailing what the family was doing and some even taunting them. Eventually, they sold the house for a $400,000 loss, but not before receiving one final letter. You are despised by the house. The Watcher 1.
Imagine a time travel machine, but instead of taking you back in time physically, it is actually a vending machine that disperses brands of discounted drinks. Why does the machine keep dispensing? And who exactly put the machine there?
This vending machine is a gate to the past. A mysterious vending machine appeared in the city of Seattle, Washington one day, situated on the corner of John Street and 10th Avenue. In the neighborhood of Capitol Hill. No one really knows where it came from. What's even more interesting is that there's only one option on the machine that says mystery, and that the machine dispenses rare or discontinued soda that you've probably never heard of. Furthermore, if you were to get a Coke or a Pepsi, it would be a can in the 80s livery of the drink's brand. Many people have tried to figure out who owns and operates the machine, but no one has been successful. With the old school drinks that it spits out, many wonder if...
The story of the Scream Killers is a sad one, where Cassidy befriends the two loners in her class only to be killed by them in an attempt to reenact their favorite horror movie, Scream.
The Scream Killers. On September 22nd of 2006, 16-year-old Cassie Jo Stoddard would be house sitting for her aunt and uncle in Pocatello, Idaho. She was described by friends and family as kind and an always warm individual. Also, as someone who would always befriend someone that was lonely, which was no surprise when she was the only real friend to the two outcasts, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk. These two were your average loners, except for the fact they had a love for movies, including a dark obsession for horror movies, with their favorite being Scream. They loved them so much, in fact, they had began recording their own. They would record at home, in their cars, at school, and lots of clips on how they felt. The night of the 22nd, Cassie had her boyfriend over during the house sitting, and they decided to invite Brian and Tori over, so they could all watch a movie together. Cassie gave them a tour of the house, and while on this tour, Brian secretly unlocked the basement door, afterwards sitting down to watch Kill Bill. But a few minutes in, Brian and Tori decided they'd rather go to the movies instead. But they didn't. Really, they left to go put on dark clothing, gloves, white mask, and get a hunting knife for each, then returned back to the house Cassie and her boyfriend were at, and entered through the now unlocked basement door, trying to, in their words, scare them. They flicked switches on the circuit breaker to turn on and off the lights, and even threw stuff around that would create noises to freak them out. Meanwhile, the dogs were growling at the basement, and the lights going out caused Cassie's boyfriend to call his mom and ask if he could stay the night there. She ended up saying no, but offered Cassie to come stay at their place for the night. But Cassie declined, as she felt it was her responsibility to stay at the house and house it like she said she would. This choice would inevitably be the worst choice of her life, as after Cassie's boyfriend left at around 10:30, Brian and Tori turned off the lights of the house one last time to try and lure Cassie into the basement, but she never went, and they then decided it was now or never. Cassie was laying on the living room couch when they both crept up the basement stairs. Once they reached the top, they slammed the door shut as hard as they could to see how badly they could scare Cassie. But it didn't stop there, because after she jumped up and screamed, "Who are you?" Tori started to attack. He stabbed her multiple times, and Cassie eventually fell on the floor and began to make what was described as a snoring, gurgling sound that was most likely from blood clogging her airways. Tori then said, "I don't know what I just did. We have to kill her." Which they did. stabbing her until they were sure she was gone. Afterwards, they got freaked out and went into the woods to burn and bury their masks, clothes, gloves, and most importantly, their tapes.
I just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a fucking joke. I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie.
After interrogation, Brian confessed to the crime, but said it was forced by Tori, eventually leading detectives to their buried evidence. But what Brian didn't know was that the film on the tapes could be recovered, and that his story of being forced was proven a lie. They both received life sentences after blaming each other in court, but since then, life without parole has been deemed cruel and unusual to juvenile offenders, including murderers, so it's possible their sentence could change in the future, one day releasing the childhood scream killers back onto the streets.
Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddard. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get?
A look into some of the rarest photos you might never find without diligently searching. These are pictures that depict history in its oldest and best form.
Top 3 rare photos from history. Number 3. During a little spoken about mass genocide that had started and lasted for over a year. It happened so quick, and there were so many dead, the original rough estimate was around tens of thousands to 500,000 deaths. But now that figure stands as 500,000 being the low, to upwards of 3 million people killed. And they were killed for being Communist Party members, in preparation of the New Order of Political Conservatives. This picture was taken moments before the mass execution and dismemberment. Number 2. The oldest existing photo of a Native American, depicting a man known as Chief Keokuk, most likely being the first because of his well-known cooperation with the colonizers at the time. Despite signing over land multiple times to keep the white settlers from killing his people, he and the Sauk tribe were forcibly moved time and time again from their land that still continued after his deals. And number 1, Kim Il-sung, grandfather to Kim Jong-un, a North Korean president, noticed a baseball-sized tumor on the back of his neck. When it first manifested, he banned all photographers from taking pictures that included it, and then started taking all of his pictures, turning to the left. Once it was too hard to hide, all of his photos were airbrushed before they were released to the public to keep up the facade of perfection he was known so well for.
This is a truly horrifying story of why you should never give your address to strangers. Charlie learned this lesson the hard way when he orders acid from an anonymous buyer he stumbled upon on the dark web.
This is a true dark web story. In parts 1 and 2 of when I explained what the dark web is, I showed you guys a website that was on Tor that was taken down by the FBI in 2014 called Silk Road. Silk Road was an online shopping platform for illegal stuff. It was pretty much like Amazon, but for the black market. The story I'm about to tell you now involves Silk Road. A teenager named Charlie was addicted to psychedelics. Psychedelics are types of hard drugs that are legal in some countries but illegal in most countries. Charlie used to be in contact with his regular drug dealers from the dark web. One day he ran out of stock and he contacted the guys that he always does. But most of them were offline, so he assumed they might have been arrested. So Charlie decided to find a new drug dealer for himself. He stumbled across a guy on Silk Road that sells the same substances that he takes for around the same price. He got in touch with that man and gave him his address. The drug dealer asked for additional requests, so Charlie requested a disguised package. Since he lives with his mom, he doesn't want his mom to find out. A day later, Charlie receives a text from the drug dealer saying that he is on his way. So Charlie waited outside his house since the weather was not too bad. He got a text 2 hours later saying, "Meet me here instead," with a location address. He was quite upset that he waited for him all this time, but he eventually decided to go. Charlie finally reached that location and saw a black van with a guy wearing a hoodie inside it. He went over to the car, took his drugs, hopped back in his car and drove away. As he was driving back home, he noticed that the same black car was following him. He wanted to text the drug dealer asking why he's chasing him, but decided not to. He started driving faster and faster and eventually lost the guy. He started laughing hysterically, but then realized that he sent him his house address the previous day. He quickly reached home, and the first thing he noticed was his mom's car missing. He ran inside the house to see all their electronics missing, all the expensive furnitures were gone, and his mom stabbed dead on the floor. Right next to his mom's body, there was a note that says, "Enjoy the acid." Acid is another term for LSD, the psychedelic drug that Charlie bought.
Want some facts that might make your blood curdle? Well, watch this clip. This little baby got stabbed 90 times by his mother. What could he have done wrong?
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 21. This photo shows 8-month-old Zhao Bao, who was lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation. If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000. But to this day, no one has ever made it through. The little girl who voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time was shot to death by her father, who then committed suicide. Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
This Disney gas mask released in World War II was a creepy idea to begin with, because why is Disney producing gas masks? Another creepy thing is this gravesite a mother constructed so her child could play.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew, Part 20. During World War II, Disney released their own version of the gas mask, designed to make them less creepy for children. In 2014, after losing her 5-day-old baby boy, a mother attached a gravestone to a sandbox so her older son could play with him. The CPR doll's face that we use today is actually from a 19th century drowned woman's face. There's a forbidden island off the coast of Brazil called Snake Island that's home to more than 2,000 deadly golden lancehead snakes. Starfish actually have hundreds of tiny little feet and are able to walk on land, but it looks absolutely horrifying. A man by the name of Timothy Clark Smith was so fearful that he was going to be buried alive that he had his own gravesite customized so he could have a window where his face was and also have a rope attached to a bell so he could ring it to alert people that he was alive.
There have been many sightings of UFOs, but perhaps this one will finally convince you that humans are not alone anymore on Earth.
This is proof we aren't alone. Okay, so we all know that the Pentagon came out and recently said that there's an alien mothership in our solar system, and that they're sending UFOs to our planet. This sounds like a movie plot, but this man captured the video of what he thinks is the mothership. After watching this video, let me know what you think.
When this man decides to move with his wife back to her hometown, he discovers some strange things that shock him, and worse still, a stranger keeps telling him his life is in danger. So what is he to do, and what danger is he in?
Imagine your wife deciding to move back to her childhood home even though you've never been there. And as soon as you arrive, you find a painting in the attic of a man who looks exactly like you. Then you begin sinking deeper into the dark secrets of this small town, noticing how people seem to recognize you even though you've never been here before. But the strange occurrences don't stop there, because you keep finding old paintings everywhere with your face on it, until you meet a woman who says you're in danger and you need to run, even if it means leaving your wife behind. So what is everyone else in this town hiding? Do you have a mysterious doppelganger? And why did your wife really want to move here in the first place? Let me know if I should spoil the visitor and follow for more.
That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing content, and we'll see you in the next one.